I was visiting my friend's house, and in her kitchen, she has one of those plaques with the family rules. Maybe you've seen those, like at the Hallmark store. They're very sweet. Here were the rules in her house. In this family, we are kind. We say, "I love you." We keep our promises. We say, "I'm sorry." And we forgive others. And I thought to myself, I am out of here. These rules are way too hard. Imagine really living that way. Of course, we need to be able to say we're sorry, but how hard it is. We did a survey that many of you participated in over the summer. We asked you, what are the topics you really need to hear about in the homilies that would really help your life? And what are the things that you'd like the small groups to focus on that would really help us grow? And you said forgiveness. It was the number one by a long shot. We need to learn about forgiveness, which makes sense because being wrong is a part of being human. It's a natural part of being a human being, is to be wrong sometimes. So because we're all wrong some of the time, of course we need forgiveness. We'll need to give it when other people are wrong, and we'll need to get it when we're the ones who are wrong. The heart of the whole thing is to say, you know what? Sometimes I'm wrong. And that's what Jesus is focusing on in the gospel today. He's saying, you can't go around thinking that you're right all the time. Because if you do that, you're never going to be able to accept that being wrong is a part of being human. You're going to get all puffed up, and then you're going to get defensive, and you're not going to get anywhere. Don't worry about being right all the time. Admit that sometimes you're wrong. And he said, don't act like you're perfect. It doesn't help you. Just be humble enough to know that sometimes you'll be wrong and sometimes others will be wrong. I will confess something to you that people who already work with me, either on the staff at the parish or the school or any of the volunteers, they don't need me to tell you this, but I'll tell you anyway. I struggle a little bit with perfectionism. I know I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of us struggle with perfectionism. And you know what's behind perfectionism? You know what's underneath it all? It's the false belief that if we just did everything right, we would be immune from people's criticism. If we just did everything perfectly, then no one would criticize us. No one would judge us. But we know that's not true. Because once someone came here who was perfect. And look at what we did to him. We didn't just do that. First, he was judged as a criminal, as a liar, as a danger to society, and that's the only perfect person that ever was. So that's what takes the air out of perfectionism's tires. That's how you know that it's a dead end. Because even if we were perfect, we would still be judged. Because making mistakes is human, and so is judging others. I love swimming in Lake George. And the thing I love about it most is how clear the water is. It's beautiful. And if you put on goggles in Lake George and on a sunny day go underwater, it's like another world under there. It's like the Grand Canyon has been filled with water. And you can see all the ridges on the canyon, and the fish are down there swimming with you. It's almost like being in outer space. You can just float down to wherever you want to go and touch a stone, and then you can push up and come back to the surface. It's magical. But once this summer, I had an embarrassing moment that only I experienced, but I'm going to share it with you. I was swimming with my goggles on, and I was having a great time. And all of a sudden, coming right at me, I saw a giant stingray. And my first reaction was, oh my God. And then my second thought was, A stingray in Lake George? I had gotten some water in my goggles, and it had turned what was just a beige boulder in the vague shape of a stingray into this menacing creature coming at me. And that's what it's like to be human. We have water in our goggles. Sometimes we've got water in our goggles, and it distorts what we're looking at. We think we're seeing clearly. We think we're seeing it exactly as it is. But we're seeing a vision that's gotten distorted. Because humans are sometimes mistaken about what they're seeing. And it's humbling when you realize that you were at a meeting one time and you were pounding your hand on the table and this is what we got to do and I'm convinced and anybody who disagrees with this is crazy. But what if we're having water in our goggles and we don't have the clear picture of what's going on? And Jesus tells us, don't climb up too high because you're sure to fall because humans are sometimes wrong. And if you're not so high, when you fall, it won't hurt so bad. The higher you climb, the more it hurts when you hit the ground. In our system of government, the Supreme Court judges on very important things, and the Chief Justice always casts the final vote. And a few years ago, they were debating a very contentious topic. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that it was a very strongly divided court, and whatever the measure was, the decision was handed down by a one-vote margin. And it came out that the Chief Justice for that vote had abstained. And when he was questioned about it, what he said was, both the court's opinion and the dissent express a relentless freedom from doubt on this issue that I cannot share. He was saying, everyone acts like there's no water in their goggles. But there might be water in your goggles. You're acting as if whatever you think is 100% right, no doubts, and whoever disagrees with you is 100% crazy. And he said, I don't have that freedom of curiosity about, do my goggles have water in them right now? So this week, we are being asked, what from this message is meant for me this week? What's meant for me? What's meant for you? Is it that you're being asked to admit that sometimes you're wrong? Maybe that's too harsh. Can we say it a different way? Are you willing to entertain the thought that maybe sometimes you're not right? Maybe that's not the issue that you're working on at all. Maybe the issue is forgiveness. Do you know how to forgive? Can you say, I'm sorry to someone else when they've wronged you? Can you say, you know, I was out of line, I'm really sorry? Or is that something that's hard for you? You know, a lot of us think of apologies as a sign of weakness, like, oh, I'm admitting that I'm bad, but because humans are sometimes wrong, apologizing is a skill. It's not a weakness. It's a skill that we have for our relationships. So there they were, the rules posted in my friend's house. In this family, we say we're sorry. Tough rule. Tough but fair. Because there's only one person in history who was never wrong and never really needed to say he was sorry. And we see how we treated him. So let's just together admit, yep, except for Jesus being wrong sometimes, it's just part of being human.